Hello there, my crafty friends. It's Ashley Pfeiffer, the maker behind Stamped AF. I have a super fun card for you today, and it's a little late because it had bested me. Last night I went to bed so frustrated. I'm like, nope, I'm going to try it in the morning. I had this vision in my head that just was not coming together. It's using the Music from the Heart stamp set. This is from the new mini catalog. It's Don Olszewski's $1 Million Sales stamp set. It's gorgeous. Even if you're not like a hardcore music fan, everyone likes music, right? Everyone listens to it. So I had an idea that I wanted to do, and the front is not the star of this show, but just wait till you see how I made that. This was what had bested me. Now you're probably thinking, Ashley, it's just a pop-up card, big deal. But most pop-up cards that I've seen are square. So easy peasy, no problem, right? You fold it in half, you snip, and Bob's your uncle. But because I didn't want to have a fold line here, it was tricky. So I am going to give you all the measurements so that you can make your own. You probably can't see it very well, but I did score lines to indicate the piano keys. And I just think this is so fun. So I've got an A2 size top folding card base. So it's 5 1/4 by 8 1/2, scored at 4 1/4. And I have a 5 1/4 by 8 1/2 piece of Whisper White cardstock, regular, not thick. And you probably can see a whole bunch of pencil markings on here. So we need our Stampin' Trimmer, and you need this kind of trimmer, or if you're comfortable working with an X-Acto knife and ruler, that would work as well. But you need this kind of cutter versus a guillotine cutter. Now, basically, the measurements you need to know are 3, 4 1/4, 5 1/2, 6 1/2. We are working 3/4 out, 3/4 of an inch in. So I am going to start now. I don't know if you know this, but I just learned this last night. So there are numbers on this arm here, and there are notches in both the score and the cutting blades that line up. So I am scoring this. We're going to cut it eventually, but right now I just want to score it. I'm going to score from 3 inches to 6 1/2 inches. So I'm just going to stop when that little notch gets to the 6 1/2 inch mark, and then go back and forth a couple of times. Now on this side, we're still working 3/4 of an inch out, but those numbers are going to be different. So on this side, it's going to be 2 to 5 1/2. You could flip it over and work on the other side so that those numbers are the same, but this really isn't as difficult as it seems once you figure out what it is you have to do. Now at your 4 1/4 mark, which is the center of any top folding, side folding card, right? We're going to score it at 4 1/4 to the 3/4 inch mark. And this is what's going to give us our fold. Remember, I don't want to fold all the way through. Okay, so just to that. On this side, it's the 4 1/2 inch mark. Okay, so now we're going to score where these pencil lines are. So for the first one, that is 5 1/2. So we need to start at our 3/4 inch mark, and we are going to go to 4 1/2. Once you realize that that little notch is there, it makes everything so much easier. Okay, now we're going to go to the 3 inch mark, and again, 3/4 of an inch out to 4 1/2. And then for the last one, we're going at 2 inches, and again, 3/4 of an inch to 4 1/2. If you feel more comfortable, put your finger there so that you know where to stop. Okay, so now we've got our score lines. Now we can line it up at 3/4 of an inch again, and move our scoring blade, and then just put your cutting blade down. We're going to be cutting to 6 1/2. 2, 3, sorry, lost my focus there. So 3 to 6 1/2, and then on that other side, I believe it was 2. I just put my blade in somewhere so that I'm not cutting somewhere where I don't want to cut. So we can line it up at 2 inches, and we're cutting to 5.5 this time. And there we go. Now we've got all our cutting and scoring done. So now we can take our eraser and erase any of the pencil lines. I do find that having those pencil lines made it a lot easier. It took any guesswork out. Okay, so now what we can do is, I use a big buffing block when it's a larger piece of cardstock, but because we're going between these pieces, I find an emery board is easier. And if you don't do this part, they kind of want to stick together when you go to fold them. So just take an emery board and file away any of those fluffies. And then you can go on top with a buffing block. Okay, so this is the bottom of our keys. So this one is going to be folded down. You can use your bone folder if you'd like here. Fold that one down. This one is the top of our keys, so we want to fold that one like a mountain fold. And then that one is going to be another valley fold. And we're not going all the way across, we're only going on the scored part. Okay, so there we go. There is our center fold. And now just give those an extra score. Could be that my score line is off again. That should just fold down nicely. So when we get that in there, you want your card to fold nicely. So I think if you go to recreate this, skip that 4¼ inch score line and just let the center fall where it's going to. Because this is actually my second take of this video, and both times that one mark has been off. So leave the 4¼ and just do that by hand. Now the one thing I will recommend is that you don't trim it down until you've got this in place. The first time I did it, it worked out perfect. This time it's a little bit off. Let's see, it's probably not gonna be any different on this side. But now we want to take off all of this excess. Okay, now we don't want to glue this in yet because we still have to do our keys. So we need our trimmer back here, and we're going to lay this flat. Now, if you were working along with me and you want to get rid of those score lines, you can always score them on the reverse side. So initially I had scored them on the opposite side. So now, just give them a little pressure that way and they will be less obvious. But hopefully you've watched this first before you start crafting. Okay. So now we are just going to be scoring on this part. And right now it is at, we need that at 3/4 inch because remember that's where that started. So right now we are at, let's see, we're at 5.5. So we want to go to, sorry, 4.5. Let's go to 3 3/4. And then again, remembering that we're at 3 inches to 5.5 inches. 6.5 inches, sorry. Okay, so from there we're going to go to 3 inches. 3 to 6.5. Now we are at 2 1/4. So 3 inches to 6.5. And then from there we're going to go to 1.5, and that should be the last key. 3 inches to 6.5 inches. There we go. We've now got our piano keys. So now we are ready to glue this in. And what I would recommend doing is just gluing your bottom down first. Line it up to your fold. Get it centered on both sides. And close it. And now we'll do the same on the top, except this part, we've already got it in there, so. Now just close it again. And voila! Isn't it beautiful? And we haven't even really done anything yet. So I went ahead and using the classic label punch, I cut 4 out of basic black cardstock, and I'm just going to trim off the ends so that they're all about the same length. You could try doing this with a trimmer, but I found it far easier with scissors. And now you could pop this up on dimensionals. I'm just going to glue mine down. Line it up to the end. Make sure that your point is in between 2 keys. So right on that score line. Okay, so that's it for this part. Now we can take our sentiment, and I am using You're the Music to My Heart. Just using Memento. You could use Stays On or whatever color you want. Flatten that down. All right. Okay, and I have this tiny little heart. Oh, actually, before we do that, I've got the music staff. We're going to make it look like you're playing the piano. Here's your sheet music. I have to admit, I squealed when I came up with that. I was just sitting here looking at it and I'm like, literally squealed. So if you want it to be darker, you can use your journaling pens, the Stampin' Write black marker. I'm okay with it this time, but you may be able to see that I did darken it up a little bit the last time. Okay, and then the last step for the inside is just to do that little cherry cobbler heart. And what I find is I want to prevent staining on my photopolymer stamp, so I dip mine in Versamark first, ink it up, stamp it, clean it with my chamois, and then you can see there's still a bit of pink on there. So I take my stamp cleaning pad, which has seen better days, clean it off, rub it on the chamois again, and voila. So between those 2 steps, the Versamark and the stamp cleaning pad, you are sure to have maybe not no staining, but definitely less than it would have been without those steps. Just gonna put some of these stamps away because right now I think I have all my blocks out. Okay, so now we can keep this cherry cobbler out because we can do our next step. So I just have one of the scraps that I had used, one of my failed attempts, and I've got the new, it's the Crinkled seam binding from the new mini catalog. I'm sure you've seen it, and it is so much fun to color. You can use blends, you can stamp on it, which is what we're going to do. So again, I'm using cherry cobbler, so I'm going to ink this up in Versamark, and this is the piano keys stamp. So I am just going to stamp it on there. Three times. And typically what happens is when you're stamping on this, it goes through to the back, but if you want it to be darker on the back, then you can stamp it again, which is what I'm going to do. Also, because I'm tying this one in a bow. So we'll let that sit for a few minutes. Okay, so there's my stamp after having used Versamark and cherry cobbler. Now there are little pieces of whatever the pad is made of that are coming off, but look at that difference. Isn't that incredible? I'm gonna have to order another one of these. This will be my third one. The first one that I got started doing this pilling type of thing almost as soon as I got it, and I wasn't okay with that. This one has lasted longer. So not completely clear, but what a huge difference that made. So now the only stamping we have left is the happy birthday and this treble clef, and then we'll ink. I'll show you how I did this. It's so fun. So we'll let that dry for a few minutes, and we'll get our stitch nested die ready. I have gone ahead and cut that already. It was using the second largest. I've got a piece, this is the Golden Honey DSP from the Celebration. This is gonna sell out fast. I'm telling you right now, if you want this honeybee, you're gonna have to order it like ASAP, like January 3rd, because I think it's gonna sell out fast. I have just cut into my first package and I have a second package on the way. I have the coordinating bundle on the way, so expect to see lots using that. So we can go ahead and just glue this on. This is 5 1/4 by, it started out at 4 inches, but I wanted a little bit of white on either end. So it's not quite 4 inches now. But I didn't want to have a black stripe right next to the basic black cardstock. So the way this is cut, and this may not be the same for yours, but it is 3 5/8. Oops. Okay, so we can, oh, I got some little glue worms in there. Close that up. And I'm going to heat emboss the sentiment because it just didn't pop enough without. So using Versamark and black embossing powder, we're going to ink up our treble clef with the heart in the middle, which is just so sweet. And then happy birthday, and you could put whatever sentiment you want on here. But I have at least one January birthday where the recipient is a huge music fan. This probably won't end up being the card for that person because they're really more of a rock and roll fan. I should have used my embossing buddy. sure what's on there. Okay, that is good. I would highly suggest using your embossing buddy. Mine has some static from my big shot on there. Part of this really is a mess. I highly suggest using your embossing buddy. Okay, so now we're just going to put Versamark all over the edges, making sure to go on the top of it in certain places, just so it's not so consistent the whole way around. And you can always reapply, you can always brush some away. Okay, that one's a little bit messier than the last one. But you can have it as messy or as neat as you want it to be. Now the next part is just to, I've put a glue dot on there just to keep that together, and now I'm just gonna make 2 little loops, tie a bow. And I had thought about using a little binder clip, but between the 2 ribbons, it was just too thick. The ribbon and the cardstock with the embossing powder. Those little binder clips are very little. And I would have loved to have used like the gold metallic thread, but we don't have the gold one anymore. I mean, I have it in my stash, but it doesn't do you any good if you can't order it, right? So just trim your ends. Put another glue dot, but with this one I want to fold it over itself. I just want a little one. Pop that on there, grab one more glue dot to put the whole thing on there. And there you go. And then as the final step, I'm not sure if I said that before, but this is the last step before we adhere this. We're going to take a rhinestone and the dark cherry cobbler blend. It's completely optional. You could also, I forgot that I had these. You could use the metallic pearls as well. Let's use one of each. Ah. Okay, so let's put this one down here. Let's just have them all on the same side. There we go. I forgot about these little guys. This was part of the Creativity Without Borders, the Peaceful Boughs bundle. And I can't wait for you to see what our January class is. That will be coming in just a couple of days. January 3rd, it will be announced. We will have our blog hop with our extra projects. So Kelly and I will each have an extra project aside from the 4 that you're going to make in the class. I'm not going to tell you what the bundle is. I think I may have already in a Facebook Live or a previous video, but not today. So I've got that coming up, and Let's put one more mini on the edges. Tiffany Almeida and I, so Tiffany from Pretty in Paper Crafts, and I have created an exclusive Facebook group where each month those that have subscribed will have, there will be weekly challenges, there will be weekly Facebook Lives, there will be prize patrol, there'll be a birthday club, so much good stuff going on, creative challenge, so many things. And to give you an idea of what it's going to be like, we have decided to give you the month of January for free. So if you are interested in that, and why wouldn't you be, you can navigate to Facebook, and it should be listed under my groups and Tiffany's, but just search up Pretty AF, and it's a closed group. I'm not sure it's a secret group. Just request to join. And then after, like as of February and going forward, it will be $15 a month, American or US. So if you're in the States, you are subscribing with Tiffany through her website, and that reminds me, I have got to get my PayPal button up. It will be a recurring subscription, and it will just, you can cancel it at any time, and I believe that's it. So I will get that button on my website so that those of you in Canada can subscribe for $15 a month. Okay, I think I've gotten off all of the extraneous black powder that I can. So looks much better, but I hope you enjoyed that. It was definitely a labor of love, and I can see by the length of this video I've got a little bit of editing to do, but I will get this loaded as soon as possible. And if you have any comments, questions, anything, please just leave them in the comments below, or you can email me at stampedaf@gmail.com. Bring this closer. Let's bring that one because it's much better on the front. And then open it up, and you've got your little piano. Isn't that so cute? I hope you enjoyed that. If you make these, I would love to see it. You can tag me at StampedAF on Facebook, Instagram. You can send it in an email, send it however you'd like. But that is all for today. I will see you soon. I believe Tiffany and I are going live in our Facebook group on Wednesday to kick off this new project and introduce ourselves and what everything is all about. And if you are interested in the Creativity Without Borders, that will be on my blog and Kelly's on Wednesday morning. So thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so, and we will see you again soon, my crafty friends. Bye.